Okay, recording. Hello, welcome to I don't know what session this is, the sort of the lone parent sessions that were being run by Superheroes and NLP for Kids. You may have seen me last Tuesday talking about overcoming self-doubt. My name is Stuart and I've been with NLP for Kids since about 2010, so that's nearly 21 years. 21? No, it's 11 years. That's yeah, still a long time. I can't believe it. It is zipped by. So today we're going into a Q&A session today. So if you've got any questions, we'll help you out with some answers. And I'm co-hosting with my lovely colleague Mary William, and I'm sure she'll tell you a little bit about herself now. Over to you, Mary, for a little bit.
Thank you, Stuart. Hello, everyone, and I'm Mary William, and I'm also with NLP for Kids. I'm an NLP practitioner. I work with children and with parents. I work both on a one-to-one basis and also workshops where this is possible. I do few online workshops for parents at the moment. Hopefully we could do face-to-face soon. And yes, and lovely to have you here today.
Cool, right. So if you have any questions, do pop them in the chat and we can go through them and just see what feelings you've got, what sort of questions you've got, and we can help you out with that. We'll give you a couple of minutes just to formulate your ideas of what you want to talk about. It's worth saying that, you know, back when we were able to see face to face, both Mary and myself, we saw families and children alike. I was primarily working with the youngsters, the sort of the primary school age, up to sort of 8 to 11-year-olds. That was either on a one-to-one basis, or actually latterly I went into schools, which is another sort of environment where we can help children on a one-to-one basis, or even sometimes in a group setting. And it's amazing what sort of issues come out of that, whether they're sort of worried about a particular class that they're going through or topic, sometimes mainly maths. I had a young lad that was not really interested in art, but he was very good at it before. So there are times when you sort of lose that little bit of confidence, and it's great for us to sort of help them spark that confidence back into them and take it from there. I don't know, Mary, if you sort of have any sort of things like that you have from your one-to-one sessions or your family sessions?
Yeah, similar to what you shared, Stuart. A lot of the children, I mean, I guess the youngest age I worked with so far is 7. Well, it doesn't mean that younger children than 7 don't need help, but this was my experience. And it's, as you said, a range of things, mainly confidence, making friendship, feeling confident at school, or maybe relationship with siblings, that type of thing. And yeah, also obviously some of the older children, the 12, 13, 14, maybe other set of challenges present as they sort of feeling we're growing up, we want our dependence, and sort of getting this confidence as well, and having their friendships, maybe sometimes challenges at home, maybe sometimes not always feeling understood.
Yeah.
But also working with parents, because parents have a lot on their plate, and they also need this level of support to just believe in themselves, remember that they're doing a great job, get this sort of just support and some of their questions answered.
Yeah. Have you had any sort of experience with homeschooling yourself, or are you sort of, or you know, from other people, other parents?
Yeah, it has been challenging for most parents, I'd say. There's always the pros and cons. So some of the pros is maybe the routine is more relaxed, which is a good thing. But obviously massive challenges, including the uncertainty, the children not seeing their friends. That was one of the major things. Some children, especially I came across children the age of 10, 11, 12, and they say, you know, Zoom is not the same. I'm not seeing my friends. How long will that be? And the whole homeschooling period is a challenge, but equally now that kids are going to school next week, that presents a different challenge.
Yes, absolutely, especially with this flow testing, I think they're calling it now, where they have to have the COVID test. And I know my son's going back, and I'm sure if any of your children are going back to school, particularly secondary school, you'll be going through that almost kind of invasive kind of testing for them. So yeah, it does have its little challenges. I think to sort of put a positive spin on it, my sort of feeling on it is it's opened up the world for teaching and parents to learn from home. Something that has always been, you leave home, you go to school, you do your learning there, and you come back home, and home is home. But now it's sort of, I think it's opened it up a little and more flexible. It's you have to put a positive spin on these things. There's a lot of negative out there in the world, and if you don't start looking at it in a different way, you'll be going down that little rabbit hole yourself. Just like, if got any more new people that have just joined the call, feel free to put some questions into the chat, and we will attempt to answer your questions as they come up. So yeah, really appreciate that. So I think we've got one question here, Mary. I think it's just read this one out.
Absolutely.
My 9-year-old daughter is saying she doesn't want to go back to school next week. Haha, right, there we go. There's a bit of talking what we've just been saying. And she gets very upset when she thinks about it and says she hates school and wants to stay at home. So what's your first thoughts on that one? So she's primary school age, probably not seen her friends for quite some time, so that's a good thing. It's a chance to see her friends again.
Yeah.
What can the parent do to sort of help her? What sort of things would you do?
I guess the starting point is to understand it from the child's point of view, because not every child is the same. And children who are anxious about going back to school, they all will have different reasons. And there's a lot of uncertainty. And there's a lot of, it's becoming unfamiliar as well, because while going to school was the norm, staying at home became like something you get used to. Then now going to school, and what will it be like? How will my friends be? What have they experienced? What will the teachers say? And I guess dealing with this uncertainty, plus what else is going on with the child. So starting by, so what about going to school that might be bothering you? And it's important to ask those questions, not to assume that we already know. The other thing is, it's important to actually listen, even if the answer is, even if we don't like the answer, if we could say that, it's important to listen, because every answer is a valid answer. And I guess it's also important not to be anxious about what are we as parents going to do if the child doesn't want to go to school, because we want them to go to school. So there might be the temptation to say, of course you're going to be fine. You love school. What are you saying? You love school, And in a way, that doesn't encourage the child, because what encourages the child is to feel heard. And they
Yeah.
want the concern, whatever small it is a concern. And when this concern is heard, that is sort of the starting point.
Definitely. I think sort of taking it back to NLP sort of terminology as well. If you think about the communication model, what's happening there is a bit of distortion. So if
Yeah,
you go through we have filters. As humans, we have filters, so we can't take in everything that's going on around us in life at the moment. And we have three certain filters that we have. One of them is delete, one of them is distort, and one of them is generalize. And we may touch on the other two, but really just the dealing with the distort one, comes about when you're thinking about something and then you make it even worse, all inside your head. And that could be from, if you take this question in case, if she's getting very upset, there's probably something that she's worried about
that's
a
right.
little bit, but her brain and body has just made this probably the worst thing that has ever happened. It might be she had a little argument the last time she was at school with a friend and has fallen out, so actually going back to school, she'll have to face up to that kind of thing. So that's the sort of potential of what's maybe going on with her. What to do to help her is go and take, it's find out what she likes about school.
Yeah,
Get her back into that world of what she really, really enjoyed doing. Your job, a parent, really is to sort of outweigh the good stuff. So outweigh the bad stuff with the good stuff. So if you think of a balance of scales, you've got bad on one side and good on the other. You want as much good as possible
yeah,
to help you. So whatever you can sort of ask her, best do these things in a really relaxed manner. So if you might be doing some drawing with them, playing a game, they are just the priceless moments to have a little chat, because it's not, right, let's sit down and talk about you not wanting to go to school. And I'm sure Mary's picking up there. They're saying, don't ever say, that's why you don't want to go to school, because you're just putting that,
yeah.
you're reinforcing the fact that they don't want to go to school. You got anything else on that, Mary?
I guess I agree. I love everything you shared here. And I just also maybe add that sometimes we as parents are anxious as well.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes because the whole routine is going to change, and maybe sometimes the children are picking up on those anxieties. And I guess let's start by calming ourselves as well down. Let's start by telling ourselves we're going to take it one day at a time, because we as parents have been overwhelmed. It's been changing all the time. School, home, school, home, and that has been quite unsettling. So maybe also be kind to ourselves and acknowledge that it's not easy for parents as well, and work on ourselves as well to be able to calm ourselves down and hence calm our children. It's also possible to associate going to school with something happy or fun, like maybe something they're looking forward to, which they'll do at the day before going to school, or on the first day in the evening, or wrap something up that they will open on the first day at school, like a new pencil case, or something like that. Like link it to something that
Yes.
they look forward to. So we're just here linking some positive as well.
Yeah. As you were talking now, I kind of thought maybe if it's allowed, take that journey to school before the actual day itself. So go on a little journey, make it fun, If you're going in the car, stick them some really lovely music on, sort of upbeat power type music that you can all sing to and be silly to. Or if you were walking, go along, spot things along the way, get those senses really going. And once you got to the school, come back again. No big deal. And it's something, again, as a job as a parent, is not to make it disproportionate. So don't let us do the distorting as well, because if you feel that rise of panic of worrying about them, children are very astute. Their senses are a lot more heightened than us boring old grown-ups, but they will take it on. They'll kind of pick up on what you're feeling, and sometimes they won't know how to get that out. And there's various ways, acting up, crying or being very emotional or angry. There's lots of sort of things that may pop up. So I think, yeah, that's a good way. If you can rehearse it, even better. Even if you can't go out, you feel that you're not ready to go out and do that run yet, play it in your mind. Play along with them. Get a couple of chairs in the living room, drive along, pretend, make a silly game of it. I suppose, to wrap that sort of all up, it's really how you present this to them. Not in a flippant way. Nah, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. It's not. It's actually make it a fun experience. And it's down to you to help them make that fun experience. It may go well, it may not, but then it comes back to you as how you react to that, and helping them get to school the next day and the next day and the next day. And remember, Easter holidays are upon us pretty soon, so I think it's only about 2-3 weeks they're actually in school, and they're back out again. So they've got that little short period, get used to school, then it's holiday time, no home learning, without a doubt, and then you can get back into it again. I hope that answers the question. I think we sort of went around from different sort of angles on that one. So if you've got any other questions related to that, please fire them over in the chat, and we'll do our best to do that. We'll just wait for a couple of mins while we're waiting for another question in. I think we'll go back to the communication model that I was talking about earlier. I don't think I may be able to share my screen and do a little drawing as I go along. Let's see if that works. Can't remember you can do that on here. If not, no worries. In fact, what I'll do is find that.
Perfect. Yeah. You'll share screen now.
My screen. Now, I was trying to see a drawing function, but I don't think I can see one, which is a shame. Nope. Right. Let me just take myself off share again and then see if I can find a quick drawing tool. Right, I think I got just a different way to do this then. I've lost you. Ah, here we are. I lost you temporarily. Okay, so rather than me trying to find it, that is the NLP communication model. Now, when I was saying about life earlier, that is the external event. And the filters I was talking about, there's delete, distort, and generalize. So we talked about distort very briefly, but delete is when it's more about your focus. So what you're actually focusing on. So, if you're like this 9-year-old daughter, she might be focusing on all the bad things that was going to happen at school. Whereas we know, as we went over, what is good happening at school. What's your favorite teacher? What's your favorite subject? What can you do at school that you can't do at home? And it's, as a building up all of those positive things to kick out all the sort of negatives, making you feel bad and not very nice. So that was delete. And distort, we talked about. Generalize. I'm not going to like it because it always makes me feel bad. Is that true? Every time that you've gone to school, have you felt bad? Every time? And it's a nice one for you to sort of question in a joking way with your child. Say, you sure? You sure? How about sometimes? All right, perhaps sometimes. Okay, what about every now and then? No, sometimes. Okay, all right. So, let's get a little bit real. Then not we're all going to go, yeah, that's right. I believe everything you say. But it helps. So you've got the delete, distort, and generalize. And with the generalizing, you can sort of, whoa, when you go to school, you always see your friends and you always have a good time. And you can build that back up. So when you've got all of those filters, you've filtered out all that life stuff, and there are 5 specific ways that we take on that, and I think you probably know what they are. It's also seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and our 5 senses. They're the key 5 ways that we experience the world as humans.
Yes.
So we've left with all of this. We've deleted, we've distorted, we've generalized, and we're left with our thoughts. Now, thoughts. So here we go. Back to our little model here, and it says internal representation at the top there. That's your thoughts. State is how you're feeling, and physiology is also the body, and they're very linked. So if you want to help them out more and they're sort of feeling a bit low, you can see their body language is they're kicking around and it's not really sort of wanting to do it. Get them up, play a little game with them. It's moving their body. So once they're moving around, they're actually not going to be thinking about that other stuff. However briefly, it doesn't matter how many briefly they move from one state to another, so one feeling to another, they're doing it. And the more you enforce that, the quicker it will come back to them. So that all sort of leads on to, what are their behaviors? What results are they getting from that behavior? And if you can show them, when you do this, 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 and this, it's going to be good, and this is how you're going to feel. You're going to feel great. So that's the communication model. So I think we've got another question here. And right. Okay. Yeah. My 15-year-old son, so we're going into the secondary school ages, spends most of his time in his bedroom and only comes out when he's hungry. I'm pretty sure most of the parents around the UK and maybe the world are saying exactly the same thing. Now, during lockdown, he's done his schoolwork, then gone straight back on his Xbox with his friends. We don't see him anymore, and at dinner time, he eats quickly, then goes straight back to his room. I feel like I'm losing my relationship with him, and would like some ideas on how to bring him back into family life. Nice. Yeah, I'd say it's something that is quite common now, and it's sort of maybe the downside of the now Zoom sort of generation. Can we call it that one? Generation Z? No. Have you got any thoughts around this one, Mary?
So I
If you
guess
want me to read out the question
it's
again, I'm happy to do.
sorry.
If you want me to read out the question again, I'm happy to. It's quite a long one, that one.
No, I got it. I guess
Cool.
the first question is, what's the problem? What is the problem? And we do need to define the problem, and then whose problem is it, and why is it a problem type of thing. And is the problem that the child is no longer interacting as he used before? Like, what's the problem in that? Is it a problem for the child? Is it a problem for the parent? So I guess it's important to define the problem. It seems simple, but I guess it is important, because when we want to make a change, we want to know what the problem is, what change do we want to make, and what outcome are we going to get, and how will this outcome benefit us, and is this the outcome we need now? Do you see what I mean? Defining it a little bit is I guess the first thing. The second thing is maybe look at our responses as parents when the child doesn't want to spend a lot of time or socialize or interact or talk. How do we respond to that? Because I guess if we respond, whether it's with our body language, tone of voice, even silence, in a way that makes the child feel we really don't like that, it comes across as criticism.
Yeah.
And when someone is criticized, they feel bad about themselves. And I always say, if I feel bad about myself, I'll never be motivated to make any changes. I actually need to feel good about myself to be motivated to make a change. So if the child feels that he's always maybe criticized, although it's not said as criticism, but they feel I'm criticized for not spending time with the family, for wanting to be on my own, they start saying, well, that's me. It doesn't matter if people don't like it. And they almost resort to, that's me, and my family doesn't like that, they'll criticize that. They continue more on this side rather than being willing to even negotiate anything. So maybe also ask ourselves, how do we respond? And maybe then start seeing it from the child's perspective, from their point of view. What is it that, what's their agenda? What's their interest? Maybe they want to spend more time with their friends, and what's wrong with that? Nothing is wrong with that. We just feel that now I'm, as the parent, I'm missing out, but I need to actually encourage that. I love it when you spend time with your friends. Do you think you might have a bit of time on Sunday to spend a bit of time doing so and so? That could be a way to maybe engage him, but also actually respecting what he likes and what he enjoys. And I guess when we start appreciating what our children, teenagers, are interested in, their style, the nature of the things they like, we start telling them, I like it that you enjoy this. I love it that you are engaged in so and so. Now we are now one team. When we are one team, we can work this together and get to the child then wants to maybe engage a bit more. But I guess we need to work on our mindset as parents first, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah, totally. And I'm glad to see you sort of went in with a hard hitter. It's nothing to do with the child. Sometimes it's a bitter pill for us as parents that we have to step up and lead. We don't get this, you hear it said, there's no rule book for parents, there's no little instruction manual. we look around at how other parents are doing it, and it goes from a mixture of envy to, oh, at least I'm not as bad as them, to, yeah, okay, we kind of, yeah, we're sort of in the same page, we can do that, yeah, you can have a chat about it, and you go, oh yeah, I'll try that. But I think it's, you know, it's brilliant. You know, what is the problem? And, you know, if you can sort of read into that question that it's the mum or the dad, doesn't sort of really leap out of whether it's a mum or a dad, single parent there. But I think it's them feeling they're losing the relationship. And it's tough, even in this, you know, in my household at the moment, we have a similar thing. And you know, we worry for him. You know, is he going to be doing all right? Is he getting on with his schoolwork? How's he going to feel? How's he going to fare when he gets older? He's 16, so sort of similar kind of age. And you know, it got to a point where there's no point in us as parents worrying, because there's nothing we can do. You know, our worrying won't make things better, apart from probably making the child feel a little bit uneasy and guilty. Yeah, no one needs to feel guilty. But so, some of the things that popped up while you were talking there, Mary, I thought, and so, some of the things that we've been doing here, is actually one, when they do come down, notice it. You can have a little bit of a joke, but notice it. You know, it's a good thing. They've come down, even if it's for a drink. It sounds like you're still having meals around a table and eating together. And I would say there's a lot of families out there that's not happening. You know, it's literally, where's my dinner? You give it to them in the room, and you really don't see them for a long time. Make a ritual of having Sunday lunch. That's what we do in our house. You know, we have a Sunday lunch or a Sunday dinner, and we make sure we sit around the table, chat, do silly things. We've got Alexa at the moment, and so we sort of put songs on Alexa or tell it to do funny things and say jokes. I won't say some of the stuff that we make it do. It's not nice in a silly way. And yeah, I never realised Alexa had so many body functions that she can help show everybody. So we get it. So it's silliness, but take note of those moments when they do appear. Hi, all right, okay, good. Yeah, what you doing? And pay attention. Be interested. That's where the relationship comes from. It's you making that distance. They're still learning all about this. So, you know, we have to take the upper hand. You're the parent. So take a little bit of a lead on how you want to talk to them. And also, another thing that popped in as well is actually go into their bedroom. They might be needing a bit of decorating in there. You can help them out with that, shuffling furniture around, you know, anything that you can sort of legitimately go in there and interact, talk, and sort of, you know, help yourself out. That's where your relationship comes from. And I think sort of away from all of that, and I think sort of Mary, this is definitely one that actually enjoys doing this as well. It's like journaling, you know. So if you've got that time to yourself, is actually writing down all the times you did have a little chat with your son, and what did you do? And if you didn't, you know, if things didn't go too well, okay, right, today's done. Comes up tomorrow, I'll do it differently. And you know, you're helping yourself come up with different choices. But the essence of it really is, it's up to you to decide what kind of relationship you want with your son. And what you can do to make that even better. I think so with hypnosis and NLP as well, it's very important for the person that is leading the hypnosis or leading the NLP session is actually to go to that particular state first. So if that person they want to see, they want to feel more confidence. There's no point in leading the session and going, right, well, I'm going to help you go to sleep, and I think you will feel confident at the end of it. It doesn't work. You've got to have that. Whoa, okay, right. So, going to take you on a little journey. We're going to get that confidence up nice and high. And it's the same when you're talking to your child. If you want them to be happier, there's no point in shouting at them and going, oh, where are you? What are you doing? Oh, okay, fine. Nice to see you. They're going to get that vibe. Now, if you take a completely different different sort of point of view and perspective with it, and play with it a little bit, one, they'll go, what's happening? And if they laugh, you've got them. So, that would be my kind of thoughts on it. It's you go there first, decide how you want this relationship to go, and have a little play with it. See what works. There is no real instruction manual. We help a little bit with the NLP, but it really does come down to what works and what doesn't work. And don't give up when things don't work. Try something else. I think that's yeah. Good. Have you got anything else to add to that one, Mary?
Well, I guess we covered quite a lot. Maybe I'd say just feel that remove the conflict element, because when it becomes like, I want this, my son or my child wants that, it becomes like a conflict. And remove the conflict element, because when there's conflict, there's more resistance. So even if your son is willing to maybe engage a bit more, because of the conflict, they find themselves withdrawing. So in a way, it's about relaxing about it. And as you said, Stuart, note and record all the good moments so that you could feel that.
Yeah. I have a 3-question journal. What went well? What didn't go so well?
Yeah.
And what could I have done differently to make it better next time? That's it. You answer those questions every night or every morning. You're set up. Your brain and your mind will do the rest for you. But you need that little conscious bit of effort first. But soon it will become like an automatic, which is great. That's one brilliant thing about us humans. We're great at habits, and if we create that habit of always looking for things that are going well, I'd say 80% of the time, go on the 80-20 rule, you're going to find them. So it is wonderful. Okay. Right, so we're going to have another question. Right, okay, yeah, so a couple of young ones here. I have a 5 and 8-year-old. I have 5 and 8-year-old children, and they argue every morning as soon as they wake up. How can I help them to learn to be kinder to each other? They mainly shout, but recently they've been kicking and hitting each other. Okay, I feel like I spend my whole day trying to calm them down, and I worry that as soon as I leave the room, they will start arguing again. I wonder why. Is it because that they're at home all the time? They haven't got that external element of going to school. I suppose 5 and 8 years. So yeah, they're both going to school. Maybe the 5-year-old is just new. That's kind of reception year 1 type, isn't it? Yeah, what sort of things do they argue about? That's worth sort of having a look at. How do they enter into that first argument of the morning? As grown-ups, we have our first coffee. Perhaps they want their first argument. Gets them alive. They want to know we're here. Yeah, it's tough when siblings are fighting with each other. And I think, sort of hammer home that what we're bringing through here today is it's nice to look for those moments when they're not.
Yeah.
It comes back to that generalization. They always argue. No, they don't always argue. There's some moments when they don't. And that's the point, to reinforce. Oh, you're doing well, cool. Yeah, things are going nicely at the moment. Or if you don't feel confident, you think you might burst a little bubble, try and work out what they're doing. How are they reacting to each other? Why are they being nice to each other then? And it might be that it's something, it's a common goal. They're actually enjoying something, whether it's a computer game that they're both playing on, they're sharing, or they're outside and they're playing out there. So it's nice to look for those moments and see how you can engineer them for another session. Another thing to look out for is those little call signs that they're just about to kick off. And at that point, it's your job to distract them and take them on a different direction. They're just about to sort of start, the voices are rising a little bit. Maybe they're getting physical. They're playing at the moment, but from experience perhaps that physical pushing is going to get more angry. And it's that moment you need to get in there and split them up and do something else that they like doing, not, well, right, separate rooms, go. That may work sometimes, but you want to help lessen this kind of loggerheads together all the time. There'd be a couple of my sort of suggestions on that one. If you've got anything else there, Mary.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Stuart. Absolutely. I was thinking of a question: has anything changed? Has anything in the routine, in the lifestyle, in the circumstances, has anything changed for the whole family, for one of the children, and I guess, and if something has changed, how has the parents supported the child, the children, with this sort of change? Because sometimes things go unnoticed, but they are there, they are buried there, and then you want to release them. As a child, you release them in whatever way. So the question is, has something changed? And the question is, what are the triggers? What happens? Like what happens before they argue? So what's the trigger? And the other thing I was thinking about is, how do you as a parent respond? Do you become the judge? Do you take sides? Do you tell them off? Do you think that one of them maybe is the cause, or the one who's, how do you as the parent respond is sort of really important, because they want attention. Does one of them feel not heard and want to be heard? And then if I sort of argue, become the victim, it's my sister's fault, then I am hurt. So how does the parent respond is also a very important point, because kids' behavior is also about how parents respond. Like every behavior is almost, I think studies show that it's 50% the child, 50% the parent, because how do we handle situations like this is really important. And another point I was thinking of is sometimes unintentionally we label our children. So we say, for example, she's the shy one, and she's the creative one, and she's the confident one, and sometimes this I mean, they don't have to be negative labels, they could be okay labels, but they are just labels, and that sometimes has an impact inside the child, and either it upsets them, or it upsets them in somehow, and that could be sometimes the reason why they argue as siblings, because because of that, because they feel she is this, I am that. And as I say, even the positive label, like she's the creative one, she's the funny one, even them positive, it adds to the identity of every child, and the child starts to see themselves according to this label, and to
Oh,
see their sister, their brother, their sibling according to other label. And there's a dynamics that happens inside the child as a result of that. And we as parents may not have meant anything, but the child may say, oh, so she's the funny one, then I'm not funny. Whatever. She's the creative one, well, I'm not creative. Or oh, she's the confident one, maybe I'm not. Even if the parent hasn't said you're not, but that's what's going on there. So I guess being curious to dig deeper into what's going on for the children and the triggers and how we respond to them, basically. So what's coming to mind.
no, that's perfect. Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. There's one I heard quite recently, that as humans, we don't really start to settle our brains until we are about 8 years old. Now, before that, earlier than eight, it's you're emotional. That's the key thing. So that the 5-year-old and probably maybe the 8-year-old, they're being led by their emotions. They don't actually have a really formed logical type brain yet. And that's where we come in as adults, as parents, to help them work out the logicalness. I don't think that's a word. The logic of it, and help them with that. And that's part of our learning for them. What we're going to teach them is, yeah, that's right, but okay, this is what happens. This is the logic behind it. We have to be patient with that, because they're not going to get it, because they're literally, their brains aren't wired to that yet.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. I think what I want to say is not very well, because I'm blah blah blah. Let's not be worried about always what we're saying to them. Otherwise, we'll get to this horrible vicious circle of never actually, fearing something you're saying is going to have an immediate impact on them, and that's not the case. In generalization, it's something that you say a lot and often, and you keep on doing it. It's habitual.
Yeah.
And it comes down, they're taking on those stories. So, oh yeah, you're the arty crafty one. Oh yes, yeah, yeah. No, you're the calm one. Oh, you're the feisty one. And it's something that, you may start catching yourself, subconsciously thought, yeah, that sounds like me. That sounds like what I say. It is never, never too late to change that, and make it more balanced, make it more open. But really, if they are arty and they are crafty, then go with it. That's their identity. That's what they're learning. That's what they're good at. That's their superhero ability, and you should really go with it. Sort of going back to sort of the siblings and that kind of thing. What I would be very cautious of is giving more latitude to one than the other.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sort of seeing someone, not for part of these questions, but that is a situation where the older one is being sort of told that, he needs to buck up and sort himself out, whereas his younger brother is getting away with it all. So the older one is feeling a bit put out. He feels it's all unfair. So that's where, as parents, you kind of be aware of what you're saying and treating them as equal as you possibly can. But you also got to think about their age. They are getting older. They are the older ones. There is that little bit more responsibility. Perhaps the logic part of the brain is kicking in. And a lovely one to do is they will start being seen as a role model by their younger sibling, and you need to watch that. So teaching them how to teach their brother or sister is a
Yeah.
great way. It really does pay dividends. So that would be my sort of comments on that particular question. I think we've got time for one more. I think we'll go up to the 9 o'clock. But if this goes on a bit longer, fine and dandy. I'm good. Are you okay,
Yeah,
Mary, for
absolutely.
time? Yeah, bro. So question is, my 13-year-old daughter is very shy and has always struggled with friendships. Recently, she has made friends with a couple of girls who ask her to do things that she shouldn't, like say something rude to someone. I'm worried that she will do something risky because she is happy to have friends, but how can I teach her to stand up for herself and not do these things for friendship? Right, okay. Friendships, I assume this is, well, either in our house or school, but yeah, friendships can be tricky. That whole social element, peer pressure, it's one
Yeah.
to really watch. And we can't control it all the time because we're not there. So I would say what you can do is just talk around it. It's that those quiet moments, like we were saying right at the beginning of this call, when you've got a quiet time with them and just having a little chat. You might be folding some clothes, or you might be doing something more energetic. But it's those little moments you can have a little chat. So, oh, how are you getting on with? Oh, well, how do you feel about asking that person, saying something rude to them? And, it sounds like you might have a bit of an honest relationship there anyway, because you found out that she wants to say something rude. And so always keep that dialogue open. Don't shut it down, because you'll lose whatever little control that you perceive you have. There, so I would definitely keep it open, keep talking to them, be a role model. Oh yeah, so, yeah, even kind of make up a little story along the way, or talk about someone else. Oh, I had a friend that had that, and this is what they did. And it's a useful little tool. If you don't have that own personal experience, have someone else have that experience.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's a little bit more believable for the person that you're talking to. So yeah, there are a couple of things I can think off the top of my head.
Yeah. I like it when you said come up with a story, either the parent herself experienced the same thing or someone
Yeah,
else, because then the child feels, yeah, that's possible, that's natural, it can happen. They are able to be more honest with themselves in terms of do I want it, or is it pressure? And they are able to, it's when you feel you're not alone, you're not the only person experiencing this, that is really important, and maybe will allow the child to be more open and share. And maybe the child will say, well, I don't want so and so, but I can't, I don't know how to do so and so, can you help me, can you give me a suggestion?
yeah,
So and this is, if you get to the child asking for suggestions, that's brilliant.
yeah.
But also
And
maybe
another
be
way,
patient.
yeah, perhaps is asking them, who else can they talk to? It doesn't
Yeah,
just have to be the parent. If it's at school, there's always a nice teacher that you can talk to. 13-year-old, there'll be a secondary school, so there's probably a I had the name of the person in my head there. There's a type of teacher, gone now, but someone they can talk to, like an inclusion worker or something like that. Yeah. So it's worth always having that other people to talk to. Saying, if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. Totally get it. But talk to someone. And they're getting into that age of getting older, being more aware. Having friends is really, really important, and it's helping them along the way. But just being open, that's all you can do. If you don't have an experience of having lots of girlfriends yourself, or when you're at school, help them. It could be a new experience for you too, and go along the journey together. The difference, we're unlikely to say something, go that dare and do something, but children feel they need to fit in, and helping them find their own identity and feel strong about themselves and how they are. And the whole, women are very powerful, and it's coming more and more to the fore about how the world is perceiving that, and it's a great one to sort of jump on. So you don't have to follow the herd. You can be your own person, be your own woman. So yeah, that would be my sort of things on that one.
Absolutely. I'll just add one word. Being patient is important from the parent side, because sometimes when you're a parent, you're faced with a challenge, that your child is facing a challenge, you want it resolved as quickly as possible. Again, the worry you spoke about, Stuart, the worry kicks in, and I want to resolve this quickly. I don't want to wait until problems happen. And sometimes this pressure of I want to resolve it quickly is in itself the problem, because it will create resistance.
Yeah.
So
yeah. The things you resist are the ones that come back at you harder. So it's something. I can't remember what is it in karate. When I used to do karate, if someone's coming at you, you actually go with them. Don't bow. So go with the flow on this one. I suppose that's where that kind of phrase comes with. So let's just go with the flow and guide. Cool. Right, so that's the end of the questions there. If there is any sort of last minute ones, do fly them in, but we'll just hold it open for a minute or so. I would say, I think there's another Q&A session next week. That all of these sessions are being recorded, so if you feel like you want to go back and listen, watch them all again, they're all on a YouTube page for superheroes. I'm sure a link will be sent out at some point if you haven't already got it. And there's such a varied amount of sort of topics. The Q&A, we've got quizzes as well. It's been a lot of fun. I'm still up for one next week, so do it next Monday. So if you want to tune into that one, it's how to change your state really quickly. So we talked a little bit about that today. So I'll go into a bit more depth. And it's really, really important for us to sort of take control of that. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you ever so much for tuning in. Thanks for the questions, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Thank you. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Night.
Right.